Like, this is what they tell them, like, just look at the Israeli Gaza stuff. Look at the length of time. Look at the civilian casualties. It's more civilian casualties and less military.
Yeah.
It's the inverse in the Russian war, because they're going down, making sure they do it at the cost of their own lives, and the man is still cool with it 4 years. He has not attacked any administrative building in Kiev. None.
I think that's something to applaud.
I mean, remember when Iran and Israel started, it was the Ministry of Defense that Israel went for first. Then the Iranians retaliated and went for the Ministry of the Intelligence building in Tel Aviv. So they were going from day one for the administrative buildings. So far, there's none has been done. As a matter of fact, the Ukrainians have hit administrative buildings in Rostov and Don.
Yeah,
in Rostov and Don.
Theirs have been
not the new Russia, the old one, Rostov and Don. They've hit that. The Russians have not retaliated. They've only targeted energy supplies. They're trying to cripple their energy, and the coal power plants, thermal power plants, nuclear power plants, generators, and things like that. There's not been any war like that in recent times.
If, like I'm saying to you, they had to write a true reflection of what this war means at large, it will touch on many aspects.
Yep.
Do you know how many countries, how many leaders, how many people have just been erased because of some irrational leader or emotions of anger?
Yeah.
You hit this, so we're going to hit you back.
Yeah.
We're even seeing it even today anyway. One president will say this, the other retaliates. We want to, because everybody's trying to have a show of power. What is happening between Russia and Ukraine? Surely, I would like to urge all those people that like writing.
Yeah.
They need to write a good
Issues
piece
you
about
can
this.
fight a war without.
They need to.
I've said that before. You can fight a war without hatred. Usually, if you fight wars without pride or hatred, that's what it will look like. It's like a mom disciplining the child. Yeah, it's still smacking, but it's without hatred, and it's not abuse.
And
But when you smack with hatred because it's not your baby, right? Then the same smack but different. It produced different results because of the extra hate or extra pride. The cause of pride is you're proud. You want to show that you're the strongest nation, so you just go and bomb those people. You know civilians are there, but you want to show that you're elite. You're an elite. Nothing is going to happen. I'm going to kill them. Nothing's going to happen. So those are the two things that cause so much devastation in today's war. Pride. I want to teach them a lesson that I can do this and they can't do anything. Or you hate the people and you bomb them. These are the two reasons for mass casualties in genocide. If not, they do nothing to you. Civilians do nothing to you.
Absolutely.
They're always running away.
Yes.
So why would you go for those always running away? It's hatred and pride.
Yeah. And
I
also
think go ahead.
Okay, and also strategically, I think, because what the West has been trying to actually do is to gauge him to go full might as a way to actually destabilize his, because this is a special military operation, meaning to say he has worked on a plan. He has got a plan in hand. What they're trying to do is to also get him off the plan by actually agitating. What we are also hearing from the West at this present moment, especially with regards to the 28-point peace plan, is quite concerning, and I think it's telling. And for those who have been calling in and sending messages to the program to say, oh, well, you need to look at what's happening in Ukraine. Putin is the aggressor. No. Go back now.
No, that one
and
we've
look
corrected it
and
and we stand firm on it, period.
Exactly.
You see, I think we've explained it enough times.
Yeah.
You have to understand this message.
Let's just assume they are first-time viewers.
Fine, I understand. But for those that are not, and if you heard us before, time without number, you have to understand this message. There's some messages that cannot be diluted or twisted to satisfy other people's opinions.
No.
You see, we can't always do that. Some information, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You either accept it or not. Because we can't agree to him being an aggressor when he clearly isn't.
He is not.
Sure. He
clearly isn't.
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
His display of sobriety is something
it's
you know, just look.
It's
almost
almost
everything.
heavenly.
almost on every
heavenly.
account that you can think of, right? Just look at it. Look at the metrics that you use when you want to actually go to war. So, is it the army, the size of the army?
Yeah.
How big is it? Can it actually match, let's say, to even NATO itself? It's actually bigger. It would have actually trumped them if they wanted to actually do. What kind of arsenal do they have? and what was the response? And then also you're looking at him willing to talk. Look at what they did. Trump comes out with his 28-piece point plan, and then they come out with a crazy 28-piece point plan from Europe because they're warmongers. And you have people like Kaya Kallas who's actually saying Russia has attacked 19 nations. And you ask which nations were attacked with Russia? You can't even find it in the recent history, right? And then you get to realize, if not for the fact that they have an agenda, which is failing, because remember, what they were trying to actually do is pull him and draw him into a protracted war that engulfs everybody else, knowing very well that the highest arsenal that you can find in any war is in Russia. So if you push him to a corner, you might actually just use what you didn't expect him to use, and then it becomes a catastrophe. And he has so far not displayed that. In fact, he's not indicating that he's going in that direction.
But even the people that are accusing him, they themselves are treating with care. They're being careful, because they know anytime you poke the bear and the bear actually has to retaliate, it would be a disaster. Yeah, it will be a disaster.
And we also are not discounting what the church has actually been doing, because, you know, the soberness that is actually there is as a result of the church. I like it. I like it.
The prayers. It could have been a disaster.
Especially
really could have been a
just
disaster.
think about it this way. Somebody has got magical powers to make you disappear off the face of the earth, and they're just looking at you, and you are killing his children day, and they are not. He's not doing anything. He's still saying, no, we can talk. So here is what I've actually proposed. Okay, I changed it because he actually also changed the terms. Come, let's talk. And he has done that again. I think he actually gave a new condition this time to say we can talk on this.
Okay, he gave that condition. So let me flip to the other side. He gave that condition because he is winning.
True.
So what is the 28-piece point?
Okay, now there are now many of them now.
Just point out a few.
So the first was leaked. I think this is the first one that was leaked and turned out to be correct. It was given to the Ukrainians. It was leaked first by the U.S. media house in the United States. Then it was given to the Ukrainians, and that was during the G20 summit. So the European leaders were in South Africa at the time. So when they picked this, they had to gather together immediately, and they flew to Geneva in Switzerland, where they now had two versions.
I love the part of the warranty.
Yeah. Then where they now had they had two versions. One was an amended 24 points. Then there was another amended of this, and eventually the Russians have said they reject them. Bottom line. But if you take a look at this, I mean, nobody's against principle one, which is the Ukrainian sovereignty. I believe this state is not for sale. It should be held in fully and should remain. But let's talk about the ones. I'm just going to, since everything has happened and we're looking in retrospect, we'll take a look at the points where they diverge, right? That makes it easier.
Yeah.
We see number 3, they diverge there. So according to the United States plan, Russia is not expected to invade neighboring countries, and NATO is not expected to expand further. Oh, the Europeans took that point out.
Oh, they did? Interesting.
Now, they didn't take it out because they want Russia to invade the neighboring countries.
They don't want Ukraine to stop.
They want NATO to keep expanding.
Of course.
That is why they took it out.
But that's the all crux of the war. So if you take that
then the war grows
That's
bigger.
the point.
So who's the unreasonable man?
yeah, exactly. Because
Who's
that's
the
exactly
aggressor?
why Putin
Who's
is
the aggressor
fighting.
here?
Putin is simply saying, NATO, you can't expand.
And this
that's the
this
crux.
is from President Trump. This is saying, you know what, we're not going to expand further, and you don't attack further.
Yeah.
That would have ended the war right there.
Yeah.
I trust President Trump. Listen to this. The United States will receive compensation for the guarantee.
That was so
You trust
Trump.
him to be a businessman, right?
That was so true.
It has to be there.
Was infamy. That was infamy. So that is one place where they diverged. Now, another place they diverged was in point 7. So we'll leave where they agreed. Oh, no, point 6.
Okay.
So now, according to the original plan from Istanbul, the Russians wanted the number of Ukraine armed forces to be capped at 250,000 people. But according to this American plan, we can see the numbers there, 600,000. However, the Europeans came back and said, no, it should be 800,000. So who's going to, I mean, let's leave that. Ukraine has the right to have as 20 million people. They can have it eat. But the problem with that number is who's going to fund it?
Do they even have enough manpower to actually
Because as we
get to that
speak right
number?
now, the World Bank is going to give a new loan to Ukraine. If not, Ukraine will be out of money by February next year. But let's go to 7. 7 says, Ukraine agrees to enshrine in its constitution not to join NATO, and NATO agrees to include in its charter a provision that Ukraine would not be admitted in the future.
Oh.
That, in tandem with number 3, would have solved the reason for this war in the first place. Oh no, but the Europeans are not.
They would never
said no.
accept it.
They said no. So the changes they made was that Ukraine joining NATO is subject to the agreement of all NATO members, which does not currently exist. That's the line they use there. So then they went to, they all agreed, I think they agreed with all the other points, and also they were not really in agreement with the Americans making money off the frozen, of the frozen
Assets.
stuff. So we can go to the next one. So these are the kind of changes, and it became clear that the Russians are not going to accept it. Like, we started a war to stop
no,
NATO,
absolutely
but you're saying the
not.
peace plan should have NATO come in. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't make
And
that's
they're winning.
admittance
So
of
they're
defeat.
winning. They're on the winning side right now.
Yeah.
Ukraine
Yeah.
is losing. So you can't remove that aspect and you're still losing on the battlefield.
Yep.
If you're being reasonable.
Yep.
Unless you're actually the warmonger.
yep. So the point is now, there's a new version we are yet to see. According to Vladimir Putin, there's a new version, and the Ukrainians are not privy to it. So,
So in this case, even if there's a new version to it and it still has this back and forth going on, that means this Ukraine war might last longer.
So this is the problem with the. Let me tell you what's the real crust of the matter here, and this is what calls for wisdom, especially when you pray. I want you to see it from everybody's side. So I don't think Russian. I don't think, like, we're looking at it from a prayer perspective. So we're not taking sides with anybody. Ukraine is at the verge of collapsing, and it shows in the. It's a war of attrition. It's a war of attrition. And the way Ukraine is falling apart, especially in southern Ukraine, in the Zaporizhia and Dnipropetrovsk region, it's getting so bad. So the signs are there that it's cracking. And there's a corruption scandal showing that all the money is coming in. Everybody in Kyiv is getting a cut, right? Before the soldiers get whatever is left. So there's pressure on everyone, it's falling apart. President Trump, let's start with him. He does. Remember, they know this is not Ukraine war.
Of course.
This is NATO war.
Yes.
Chiefly started
Global
by the
NATO.
United States. This is global NATO
Global
versus.
NATO, yeah.
Right. He keeps saying it's not my war. But if Ukraine loses, it is NATO that lost. As a matter of fact, Zakharova said the United States today, she said it yesterday in her Ministry of Foreign Affairs briefing. The United States today is paying Filipinos to join the ranks of the Ukrainians.
That's desperation now.
It's it's at that point where they're going to other countries, paying people because Ukraine is out. It's almost there. But let's talk about Trump's position. If it happens in my time, it will go into history books. NATO lost with me as commander-in-chief. So the haste President Trump is making is to make that not happen.
So, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry, I just...
No worries.
What really is the importance of Ukraine that it's not supposed to lose this war? Ukraine is another country.
No, because
Apart
NATO,
from it having its own rare earths and
Yeah.
NATO having its interest in whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. But if Ukraine
Loses the
decided
war.
to sign the peace deal and be quiet,
Yeah.
what's the big deal about
No,
Ukraine winning this war?
NATO lost the war. They know that it is not Ukraine fighting the war. And this is the strength of Zelensky. Zelensky knows. So let me talk for Zelensky a little bit. Zelensky knows I am finished if we lose this
He
war.
knew it from the first day before he
But
even
this is it.
started. He knew it.
I will bring NATO down with me so that it goes into the books that it's not just me, it's NATO.
But NATO has not really lost. Here's my point, so that you could understand me a bit
Okay.
better. NATO has not lost. No one has lost.
Okay.
There's peace. They are just reaching an agreement. If they could look at it that way, I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Oh, no.
So it's not a question of you've lost the war because Russia is. So let's just agree. After all, you are entrenching in borders that are not even yours, NATO.
So let's
let's
put
just
it,
agree.
I want to use the word of is it Gary,
For a peace
Gary
deal.
Kasparov.
Is that a loss? Is that a loss?
Gary Kasparov said something in one of these security summits, and he's right. Why was NATO put together?
In the first place.
Was to fight the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union
Was disbanded,
collapsed,
yeah.
why was NATO still there? To fight
Russia.
Russia.
Yeah.
But they've never fought Russia ever since they have been. This is the first time.
They should just stop.
But the point is, it will be the first time you finally fought the guy that you've always wanted to fight for the past 30 years. You lost. There's no reason for NATO. And you get to what the point. It's like this is the reason you've always. The whole point of NATO was to fight Russia.
But remember,
now here is the Russia you want to fight, and Russia is telling you that sign it like this or not. You lost.
in
They
this,
didn't lose. They have just started something that they were not even supposed to start in the first place. They should just quietly go back into the cave.
Especially if you look at it from where NATO is, because remember, NATO is not the original NATO that it was. There is a reason why it's now called Global NATO. In fact,
So it's bigger than what it used to be.
yeah, they don't want to fight Russia alone. Given a chance, they would have been in Jordan, they would have been in Kenya, like they said, major non-NATO
They will
allies.
target
They will
certain
target
people
certain
that
people.
they just want to
so
conquer.
you look at it from that point, of course, from a leader like Zelensky, who is actually looking for political capital, is looking to say, okay, I'm waging their loss. I'm waging essentially their label to say they were defeated by small Russia. But at the same time,
In a special military operation, not even a war.
and he is not actually looking at the bigger picture, because the warmongers are not just looking at Ukraine and thinking, given a chance, if they could still perpetuate the same kind of war and blow it to where they want it to actually get to, which is a third world war, they can do it in Poland, they can do it in Estonia, they can actually do it even in Africa. If you look at the influence,
They can do what? I'm trying to get it.
they can actually perpetuate the very same narrative to say Russia is an aggressor, and then they have to be there. Remember, all this is actually coming from that false narrative that they perpetuated for a long period of time through movies and the like. Russia is an aggressor.
Yeah.
And they said Russia is an aggressor in Ukraine. Now they've changed the tune as of today. They're saying Russia is an aggressor in Europe. If we are not ready, Russia will just invade all of us. That's why they were saying, Kaya Kallas was saying that a few days ago, saying Russia is
They
going
are mobilizing now.
They are mobilizing.
they
So
are. Yeah.
look at it. You have a war that is far off from your territories and your EU. You are already telling your citizens in France to say your children are going to die. You are saying in Germany, we are doing conscription again. We are taking 16-year-olds. We are most likely going. You are going to Poland. You are saying everybody else is supposed to actually have military training, compulsory. That is. It tells you exactly where they are actually trying to go with it, which is why even something that is reasonable that is given on the ground.
Yeah.
Let's solve the conflict. What exactly are you contenting about? And Putin says, come, let's talk, and say, they are changing everything else
So
that
let
is
me
actually
defend
there.
them here. Let me defend. It's not like they're saying less. They are not saying which they don't want to solve the conflict.
Do they? They
No,
don't.
that's no. Let me defend them here. What they're
To
saying is,
defend global NATO.
let me defend the European leaders, not President Trump here, because President Trump is very pragmatic. He sees it for what it is. But why are the European leaders saying no? It's because they are good disciples of the globalists that won the war. But this is the reason why. The Russians are willing to negotiate, but the Russians are not willing to concede. For one reason. They believe they are winning. And frankly, they are winning. So it's not like the Russians are just saying, that's what I just said is the key. The Russians want to negotiate as winners. And remember, in the words of former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, he said, all wars end with talks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Russians want to talk as the winners. So we tell you what we want, and you choose what's left.
But it's also
But
because
that
of the intensity
means
of it.
you won.
Which is true.
Vladimir Putin doesn't want to talk as an equal.
No, and he will never accept it.
He doesn't want
because
to talk
he's right,
because
though,
he's
right from the
winning. He's
beginning.
winning.
Not-
So he wants to talk as the guy who won.
No, but
But once you want to talk as the guy who won, it means the other guy. It's a zero-sum game. it means the other guy lost.
Okay, but
No,
here's
but
the thing,
here's
Michael.
the principle of
The
war.
other guy has always been the loser. He just went to poke where he was not even supposed to poke because he just wants to start something and make it look like he owns it.
See the other narrative to it. Now, for over 30 years, I keep saying it, mind the movies you watch. The scripture says, guard your heart with all diligence. I'm going to go back. For over 30 years, you've been seeing movies, Russians are the bad. Once you see Russian in a Western movie, they're the bad guys.
And they get defeated.
The
in movie.
Russian bad.
Wait,
Who
you
moves?
need to add on. In the movies, they get
They
defeated.
get defeated.
Yeah.
Whether it's Shogi with his eagle fly, all the movies, whether it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, whether it's
No,
Sebastian,
but
any
even,
movie you see
but
the
even,
Russian,
even that is myopic on its own. Hold on. Just think about it.
it's myopic, but it has engineered people.
No, but you know when
This
I,
one is reality. It's
This
not a
is
movie.
reality. So the Russians are now going to win in the real life?
No, but
they can't even agree with that.
think about it this way: the very same people, the warmongers themselves, do they not have an equivalent of a mafia? Have they not exported mafias to the rest of
Is
the
it
world?
in the movies?
So
Are
at the-
people, that's the point.
No. It's no. How did we know about the Italian mafias? How did we know about the different mafias that are actually there? It's essentially also in entertainment. I'm just looking at it from a point where, when it comes to war, when you go to war, wherever that person that has actually defeated you in, whether it's a kinetic war or whatever war it is, they will define the boundaries, the borders. So a wise person would first of all not go to war first of all.
Yeah.
Then if you go to
We've
war,
passed that.
and then if you've passed that, you
But
know
they
definitely you are going to
did.
concede
That's
something.
what I'm
So-
saying.
No, I'm trying to
They
tell you.
went
I'm telling you.
and started
I'm
something that
trying
they
to
were
tell
not
you.
supposed
the
to have started.
They've already made a mistake. The
They were
impedance here
defeated from the word go.
is the way. Remember, it's less than 4 months ago. It's less than 4 months ago that Western media started saying Ukraine is losing.
Yes, because if
So
the evidence is
for
appalling,
over
you
for,
can't.
yes, so for over 3.5 years, the BBC reported that the Russians were out of ammunition. They were now using shovels.
I mean, honestly, with
the
all respect
EU
and fairness, I don't know what
You,
BBC
no,
is
I
doing,
can show you.
but
If you want us to put it on screen, I can show you. So just trust me on this one. Von der Leyen actually said in the European Parliament that they were out of chips and they were going to their fridges to get
machines.
Microwaves and washing
their
machines.
microwaves and washing machines to get it. So they've always believed that they were winning. It's only 4 months ago it became difficult to hide the truth. And that is why our viewers are contending with some of these things that we're saying.
because they think it's true.
Because they think all these things it's true. So how do you come and say, and remember, Putin wants to negotiate, but as the winner. So how are these people going to go back to a brainwashed society to say, he won? When did he win? Did he just win 4 months ago? Or was he, when did the battle turn around? And that is why, that is the problem. It's not like they don't want to negotiate, the Europeans. They want to negotiate as equals.
No,
Well,
but I
in
think
a
So
war
let me tell
that
you,
they are
the debate
losing.
will not finish, trust me. Russia, Ukraine, that's just how it is. The dynamics are there. I pray for a day
Yeah.
where they actually sit at the table and actually agree to something.
yeah.
Okay.
Both sides.
Let me even push
Where-
it. I know. The Russians have already said they don't want to talk with the Europeans. That they believe the Europeans don't have an independent, and this is coming from Sergei Lavrov, that why talk with them? They will do whatever the Americans tell them to do.
Which is true.
So we don't want to talk to them.
Rather, just go straight to the Americans.
We just want to talk with the Americans.
Which is fine.
So now the Europeans have said, if you don't talk to us, there will be no deal.
Oh, God.
And Zelensky is
Listen,
already
what we
pivoting
need-
towards
we
And
need
Zelensky is
wisdom.
pivoting because
We need wisdom in
Because-
this.
I
Zelensky-
think
okay.
when you look at that, right, it's them gathering. But you see, there's a different realm where these things are actually decided. You know, just think about it. In the wars that actually happened in the Bible times, sometimes the most powerful enemies that we'd actually have trying to actually go out, a very small country, the solution, the wisdom solution to that was essentially them fighting amongst themselves or not having an agreement, no consensus whatsoever, and then it falls away.
I
And I
really
think
agree.
that's exactly
agree with
where
you.
we are actually going when it comes to this. Because I'm just thinking about it. Propaganda or no propaganda, you know, are you not caring for your children that are dying in their mums and
No,
everybody?
it doesn't look
Oh,
like
no,
it.
no, 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 no.
They might care,
people
but
who
the
did
powers
vaccines,
behind it-
people who did vaccines, you want them to care today.
Oh, no, of course.
No, but we have
They
a
don't
a
have
very
a
valid-
culture
we have,
of
That's a
caring.
very
which is
valid point,
which is
yeah.
which is what I was actually saying to say they don't care about what is actually happening,
They
and
don't.
they have to be stopped.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we want to quickly talk about something here. What is happening in Guinea-Bissau? I can only imagine the number of questions that people have as to whether this is correct and this is not correct. I actually also want to ask the team here what your take is. We have prayed for a change, yes, but what kind of change are we looking for? It's very important, right? We share this information with our viewers. So what is, in the recent development, which I'm sure most of you know by now, Brigadier General Denis Nkana, Guinea-Bissau's transitional president, has actually confirmed that the military government will oversee a one-year transition period. So now his remarks come after military officials appointed him as the country's new leader, a day after soldiers ousted President Umaro Sissoko Embalo's government ahead of the announcement of the weekend's election results. So he justified taking control of the country by highlighting dangers to its stability from politicians and drug barons. However, Fernando Dias, the main contender in the presidential election, declared victory in an online video and encouraged citizens to reject the coup and demand the release of the election results. Meanwhile, Senegal's foreign ministry say that the ousted President Umaro Sissoko Embalo is now in Senegal after his release by the military. Have a listen to this.
We will vigorously combat drug trafficking, course of action, state corruption, political corruption, and corruption of Ghanaian society.
I simply wanted to inform you that once again we are the target of a fabricated coup attempt. I am the winner of the elections. A fabricated coup attempt. I am the winner of the elections. I have polling station reports confirming my victory. I won the elections, so how could I possibly orchestrate a coup?
All right. So how does one digest this?
You don't. You just follow it in prayer. Remember, and this is the truth. If civilian administrations begin to impose their own form of authoritarianism backed by the label democracy, this is what you get. Because you can call this a junta, but you look at some democratically elected governments, they are forms of juntas by themselves.
Yeah.
So how do you want people to reject military takeovers in countries? Is by civilian authorities delivering the like if I'm Burkinabe, I don't even want elections right now. If I'm in Ouagadougou, why do I need elections?
Why, please tell us?
Because the guy there is just doing great.
Okay, there we go.
If you were in Qatar right now, or you're in Abu Dhabi, or I'm talking Abu Dhabi or Qatar, why do you need elections?
No, but you see, with politics, there's always somebody who thinks they can do better than the one that is there.
Then they
That's
get
always
in.
the
Then they
case.
get in and become.
That's the reason why you have elections, right? And then you go for elections. There's always candidates
So
who think they can bring something better to the
what's
table.
important is also to find out what does God say about these nations, because in some certain instances
Very
God has
important.
got a plan for those nations.
Yeah.
If you look at, you know how it is, we have seen, of course, dictators that came from the military, and they were dictators for sure. Then we've seen good leaders that have come from there. So you can't actually just judge by a system. We have seen some that were democratic and the system was working pretty fine, and there's some that claim to be democratic and they are far from it. And what's interesting is the benefit that we actually get to the citizens, especially when God is involved.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to actually digest. Look at, you know how it is when there is a dictatorship of some sort. People are running away from the dictatorships. Then you have in some certain cases where people are saying this is a junta, and everybody is coming to guard their president.
A question that you partly answered. Here's the question. I'm going to be realistic. If you are a citizen of a country, especially if we look at the Franco-African countries, Franco-Afrique countries, they seem to have a lot of things that they need to resolve. Am I correct in saying so?
Yeah.
Politically, that's it, in terms of their leaders. Most of their leaders have been accused of being puppets of the French.
Rightly so.
And they have been paying taxes to the
France,
French.
yeah.
Putting their money.
Yes, for the longest time. Okay, how do you resolve that? Because if you look at a lot of these Franco-Afrique countries, a lot of their leaders, if I must say, according to history, have been leaders that were superimposed by the French government itself.
Yes.
I'm not in support of saying people should go to the coup. But here's my question. So if the people in those countries want to change things, they've gone to the ballot time without number. They've come back again and gone to the ballot. Democracy is something that I questioned when I was in Burkina Faso. I said, who defines democracy? What really is democracy? Maybe we need to really speak about that word, democracy. According to who? And how do we define it? If we are in Africa, how do we define democracy if we are in Asia? And how do we define democracy if we are in Europe? I think it has different meanings at different levels, if the truth be told. It cannot just be a blanket term. And it's not serving a lot of people. So some people now appear as though they're hurtful. Is that what we say in South Africa?
Yeah.
They're hurtful. They've had enough. How do we change it? We've gone to the ballot. The ballot is not speaking for the people. Certain things happen. Some good, some bad. We've seen it before. Some good, some bad.
So usually, it's not the people that ask for a coup. Because it's not something you want to ask for.
But
it's
should
treasonous.
we even call them coups? In the same manner I question, should we call it democracy? I'm not saying I support,
no, legally,
you know, things of that nature.
Legally, it is a coup because the military guys came out of nowhere and took power by the power of the gun.
Okay.
It's a coup. I mean, that's the definition of a coup. So it is.
It's just words.
No. It's a technicality that
Yeah.
needs to be unpacked.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no, but it's just words. You're right. It's just words. A coup is a coup because a coup simply means
You transition.
it's a transition from a civilian
Yes.
To a military
to a
government.
military government.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. In the case of Zimbabwe, the transition was not directly to the military representative of the coup.
But the person who initiated the change,
Was a coup. So you can say it's yes.
it's a military.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, without shying away from a military transition or military assisted takeover, because I don't have any problem with such. I actually have got problem with bad governance, right? And that's the
I'm
case.
right behind you on that one.
So when you look at it, just look at what Mali is doing with barrack mining, and then you look at what the Democrats per se, those who came through the ballot, were actually doing for their citizens.
That's true.
You look at the windfall that is coming back to the Malians or to the AES or to Burkina Faso, or in fact you can actually stretch that to Central African Republic. All of them,
Yeah.
they Gabon, they are tilting towards that because they've seen, hey, this tag of democracy doesn't actually work pretty well for us, right?
Yeah.
It's plunder and plunder, and
But
it's
here's
plunder.
the thing, who are the people that are offended by the coups? Have you ever looked at that side?
No, number
Who
one.
are the ones that take the most offense?
It's the
Not
West.
of Mediterranean Sea.
It's
What
the
about
West.
the natives of the country? So that's why I'm saying it becomes
Yeah, it
highly
bec-
questionable.
yeah.
What is democracy in Africa? What is democracy in Europe?
Democracy in Africa was a footprint, was a Western footprint to control the system of governments and the takeover of the nations. It's like what they like for all those who don't like Zelensky. Is what is happening in Zelensky. What is Zelensky going through now? Is a hit on him, right? Where I'll just give you an example of this democracy, where it sounds good. It's a good reason, but someone is using something that was supposed to be good for bad. So in Ukraine, there's supposed to be an independent anti-corruption body, but the truth is, the independent anti-corruption body takes orders from
So
Brussels.
let me tell you what my
So
take is.
am I against
Okay.
am I against anti-corruption? Or no, I'm not. But I don't like the fact that anytime they want to put pressure on Zelensky, they open an investigation. That is the same thing Africans are going through. Now, it would have been government for the people, by the people, and
For the people.
for the people. So it would have been good where people with their turnovers.
But if you look at the history of governance
it's
for
even-
the longest time.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to say something?
It's even antithetical to what God says, because God says, I raise kings, and you are saying government for the people, by the people, which is still fine in some certain societies, right? But when you look at it, sometimes it doesn't actually augur very well for even those who say government for the people, by the people, to the people. You know, they can extend all that to that, just like, you know, it becomes a paradox for one to say it's a democratic republic, or, you know, how they call their names like that. So at the end of the day, you'd actually have to have the wisdom of God over those groupings of people to say what should happen with these groupings of people.
Yeah.
For example,
yeah.
I cannot fathom to ponder about what is happening with the AES. In a period of less than 2 years, if you look at the economic growth, the
And
pace,
that
the
cannot be
infrastructure,
ignored, because that is a reality.
Oh, the numbers have come out.
I know.
The economic has grown by
45% in 2 years.
In 2 years.
So it answers what I want to say.
None in Africa has hit that.
So this is what I actually wanted to say. Thank you for raising that point. I was speaking about, let's go back to the history of African leaders.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ills that were done.
Yeah.
One of the ills, the very simple but main one, where they told us that Christianity didn't exist in Africa. So you had the missionaries that came with the gospel to Africa. And they came with terms and conditions, which is, I'm sure, where this whole democracy thing came from. You live like this, you live like that. You don't live like this, you don't live like that. You say this, you don't say that. In the name of Christianity. I'm not saying that there were no people that were preaching the true gospel of Jesus Christ. We know them when we hear them, right?
Yeah.
When they speak, we know them.
Yeah.
But there were so many ills that were done, and it became comfortable, as if it was acceptable to just live like that for eternity. Now, would it be wrong to undo those ills, is the question that I would like to pose to the people, especially the ones that are very good at running their mouths to say junta governments in Africa. If, for example, the AES has done so well under the so-called junta government, the people of the countries are benefiting. They are very happy. I was in Burkina Faso, I can tell you. They sleep on the streets to protect their president. It's unbelievable. Didn't you walk around at night? They have fires, they are making tea, they make food at night, so that whatever attack comes to their president, they first pass by the civilians while the army is getting ready to protect the one man. What do you call that? Some people are still calling it a junta government, including the African Union, that did not even allow their own African brothers to attend the summit, which I thought was very unreasonable. So now, it's like as if it's by force that, you see, we now have the so-called coup, which I still question. Is it called a coup? According to who? And to whose satisfaction? But it's also undoing the ills. If the ills cannot be undone using the ballot, what then should happen? The church is praying, which is a peaceful way of making change. But the church has prayed. The change is where?
So, see.
In the physical.
I see where you're
in the
coming.
physical.
Yes, in the physical, things will happen by the hand of God. And when they happen, and this is why I'm very apolitical towards these things, because I like what is going on here. Then if I can't discern it by myself, then I listen to the prophets. Even if I discern it, I still want to hear it second hand. So, and once you see the Lord, for example, let me give you an instance. Was the kingdom of Israel parting a good thing or a bad thing? It was a bad thing. We'd rather have the kingdom together than disunity. But through the prophet, Rehoboam was told it came from God.
Okay, there we go.
So in the physical, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I'll ask you again. Now that you've heard it came from God, I'll shut up a little bit, like, okay, this came from God. Okay, let's go home. Because that's what the Lord told the prophet. So that is the same way we behave towards political events. First, we look at it in the physical. Do I like what President Trump has done? I like it or I don't like it. Then I turn in as a believer. Where's this from? Oh, it's from another good example.
That's why we pray about it.
David numbered Israel. I love David. I'm like, hey, he's doing the census. Oh, but that numbering is not from God. I don't like it anymore.
So now that also speaks to another part which is very important that you bring, because we need to balance the conversation. It's true that you always have to look at the situation as a Christian and understand where it's coming from. I'll give you an example. Back in the same Burkina Faso, they had a Thomas Sankara.
A good guy.
Very good person. Guy. I can tell you to date. Go and read about him. He had the spirit of liberating the people of Burkina Faso and prospering Burkina Faso. He was assassinated in a so-called coup.
Engineered
which was not accepted as a coup. That's why I asked, it's a coup according to who? It was not a coup according to the West. Because they are the ones that came, shot him out. They shot him out like that, brought him out of his office.
Lumumba.
Boom. They shot the guy out. It was accepted. But that was a sitting leader.
And it was a coup.
And then they brought in their puppet leader, who then later accepted that.
Brought this whole Poverty.
But he
and-
was a president for what, over 20 years?
Almost
he
30.
ruled the country
Yeah.
for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Because it was accepted by a certain group of people.
Yep.
So that's why I was saying some ills need to be undone. It might be unpleasant for others. It might be unsettling for others.
Yeah.
But listen, the truth of the matter is, it is what it is, period.
Yeah.
Sure.
People have had enough.
Yeah.
Sure. And also, when you look at
Just to point, that's what happened to Lumumba, right?
Yes.
Congo. And Congo has not known peace.
To
since.
date,
Sure.
And
who
now-
does it satisfy?
Now, the same
It
Europeans
satisfies the
are
other
trying to
side.
bring peace to a country they destroyed with a coup.
Yeah.
But did not call it
a coup.
I know
But
what you're saying.
certain people were accepting to it, because it happened. Though other people questioned it and said, but you killed a good guy and we know the reason why you killed the guy. They were silenced too.
Yeah.
Do you know at that time there's a whole lot of people that died because they were speaking out. It was not accepted by a certain group of people. So that's why I said in Africa, they might as well just redefine
These words.
what democracy is, what a coup is. It's allowed
Yeah.
because they are the leaders of the countries. It is allowed. Why should you go with what they brought to you and it never served the people?
Yep. Remember, we were speaking about this and I said I detest bad governance because when you look at it, governance is essentially an agreement, a social contract that you're given by your people. It doesn't matter with what structure. For example, if you look at it, there are some certain regions definitely that would not have existed, if we do put it in a loose sense, if their leaders were not strong enough to actually go against the kind of whims that are set for them. For example, just look at the East African communities. You look at places like Uganda, with what they have right now, which has actually come to the open to say they have quite a lot of resources than they admitted in the past years. Maybe there would not be a Uganda today, especially when you look at the kind of enmity that was sown among them. Remember, they now have Islamists all of a sudden, just like we saw in Mozambique. All of a sudden, they have oil, they have some critical rare earth minerals that they find, then you have ISIS. And if you look at how they've preserved themselves, the same is true in Rwanda, the same is true in Uganda, and you can actually add some other nations that are actually there. It is true to say they need to actually reframe. Remember, Africa is the new world, but it's a new world according to what the citizens have given you. For example, the social contract that has been given to the AES leaders, you can actually see on what they've actually done it. Kick IMF and the World Bank, make us richer,
and
make
so
us
why are they
wealthier, and we're
attempting to
better.
kill them too? If it's a coup, what they did was a coup.
Sure. Like-
According to them, it's very wrong, right? So why are they attempting to also kill them?
The truth is, if there
Because
is,
that's a coup too.
if there's actually a coup,
That's
people,
another coup.
It's a
people
rules-based-
run away
remember
from
it's a
their-
rules-based order. Remember it's a
That's
rules-
why
you
I
remember it's
begin
a
to
rules-based
question.
order.
Yes,
No, but
so-
you can't say there is a devil where everybody is running to the devil. Everybody knows who is the devil, who is not.
What is a rules-based order?
Well, in that case, even if they say rules-based order, right? Think about it. They themselves don't have a clear definition of this concept that they call
The
democracy.
sitting
Because
leaders
the
themselves
rules-
did not win the elections. Let's be fair. They did not win the elections.
Yep.
Some of them rigged the elections to be where they are. And people in the countries died.
No. Yeah.
Because
They died for
rules-based
that.
order means
So what do we call that? It's still democracy?
no. Rules-based order means my rule is the order.
No, it's true. You're very right in saying so. We
So-
need to ask
according
the right
to the rules-based
questions.
order,
We need to ask the right
If
questions.
Maduro rigs an election, he's illegitimate. But if my friend on the other side rigs an election, we should allow the democratic process to take its due course. It's the hypocrisy of
Of the
and
rules-based
Pastor,
order.
Is that not
Yeah,
Pastor?
it is.
Yes.
Broken this down. It's the
Yeah,
rules-based
rule of
order.
law.
And it's causing a lot of confusion and hurt. People are suffering in the economies. If you look at it, those countries that are contested in that way, people are living below $1
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
Who wants to live like that?
No one wants to live like that.
Who wants to live like
And also the
And they are
institutions.
deemed as poor, but they are not poor.
Yeah,
You
and also
see
the
now.
institutions that are there to serve the interests of the continent, for example, the African Union, just came out to condemn what happened in Guinea-Bissau.
Yes.
But they are there to congratulate what happened in Tanzania.
Yeah.
People are dying in Tanzania. Evidence is actually being obfuscated.
If I was in AU, I'll condemn what happened in
Guinea-Bissau.
I will.
Yeah, but let's also
but then you
condemn
can't-
what happened in the other places
you
where
can't
people
congratulate.
died.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, let's
98%.
not be...
Yeah, you can't be biased.
Double
If you're saying
standards
you are
here.
rules-based, then the rules should be applied across board.
Yeah.
You condemn what is happening in Guinea-Bissau. You don't like what's going on. But you should also condemn what's going on in Tanzania.
In
the
Cameroon,
same-
yeah,
in
same
Cameroon.
thing.
Yeah,
Because there,
exactly.
there are many places where such is actually
You
happening.
should do the same. You can't just
But
apply
that's
one
why
for
they
on
didn't
one side.
condemn it, because if you have the Tanzania and the Cameroon voting, they wouldn't vote to condemn it, by the way.
We really need to pray. You see, those countries,
But you know,
If we don't
when you
pray-
look at that, right, then it means the parent body, which is the African Union today, is not actually serving what it's supposed to serve. Oh, remember, she was actually pinpointing to say there is a reason why we know of a Thomas Sankara, we know of a Robert Mugabe, a Kwame Nkrumah, and you can actually do the same to say, okay, Tanzania is this one, Ghana is this one. And
Yeah.
those leaders, remember, these were leaders that were known even at the United Nations
were
to tell the
eliminated,
colonialists where to
most
get
of
off.
them.
Of course, they were
More of a
eliminated.
show.
So
most of them were eliminated.
what is their seed actually doing? Because the seed is supposed to be, you shoot your best, right, in your seed. And in this case, we actually have seeds that don't essentially understand how to do governance for own people. For example, let's say you rig the election. You are in power. Why are you switching off the internet and killing your own people? You already have the
But
army,
you
the
see,
police on your side.
When it comes to Tanzania, I would like to just put a disclaimer there. You can tell that there were people that infiltrated the politics of the country.
Sure.
For reasons that I think we actually also need to pray for Tanzania. I'm saying so
Yeah.
because remember they had a president who questioned what was
COVID,
happening,
yes.
the COVID, and the guy was qualified to question. And
So they put their eyes on the
yeah,
nation.
the guy passed on. Today we ask how he passed on.
Still very
And
fishy.
what a coincidence, you understand? So it's like there's interests in Tanzania.
To lock
Sure.
it down.
And then those kind of interests don't just focus on one person, because we could easily focus on the president.
Yeah.
But you'll find that destabilization of a nation comes from many
It's a network.
hands
Yes.
That's true.
fiddling and fidgeting in that country and just doing what they are doing there. So it becomes uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are no Tanzanians that would have killed Tanzanians.
See,
Do you get what I'm saying? There are no Tanzanians that would have come to kill their own Tanzanians.
you spoke to the heart of
People
it.
were sent to cause the havoc.
Sure.
For reasons that we still need to investigate.
Which is why we're putting it out to the fore to say, particularly when you look at those kind of issues, look at the advisors. The people who tend to actually advise the people that are there. Because you can have a good president, and the advisors are the ones that can actually tell you, hey, I have this, I can actually
Advisors
do
are the
an
presidency.
I can do an exfiltration.
Because right now you need to understand that Africa, the globalists are looking at Africa.
Yeah.
Ursula von der Leyen was in South Africa, by the way, looking like she was on a holiday. during
And she
the
went to
G20.
Angola after that.
She went, is it Lusaka?
No, Angola.
Sorry, Angola, yeah.
Yeah.
She went,
She was having a great time in Africa, but we were all looking from a distance and just praying and saying whatever it is, we cut it off.
take it and go. Go with
We
what you
cut it
came
off.
with.